Welcome everyone to the Addicts Truth Podcast. My name is Recovery John. Thank you for tuning in again. We're excited to have another guest here today, Sam. I've had the pleasure to work with Sam and see her in her element, and definitely drew my attention to her story, her knowledge, and how she motivates people to be better. So come along, listen, and I can't wait to hear more of your story. Thank you, Sam, for coming in.
Well, thanks, John, for having me. It's definitely a pleasure. First time doing a podcast, so it's a
Yeah.
very exciting opportunity. But I'm happy to share my story and try to motivate people, explain how I got to be who I am today, and basically just how I got on this journey. So,
I'm excited. So we'll tell people basically, I worked in a gym. You started to train
yeah,
me
yeah,
there. I want to say for starters, when people are going to hear a story, so I worked like a lot of people in early fitness in high school. I've
yeah,
always played sports. Sam had a unique way. It definitely like it caught my attention. Like the way you explain, I said this to you at one point, if you
yeah,
remember that, like the
yeah,
way you explain just even simple workouts were like, especially me, like I'm half autistic. I think like some things for me, I just need like a visual.
yeah, yeah.
And I was like, I took a lot from you. So
Thank you.
when people think about the end, looking yourself up, I think it's so I might have learned more from like you and a couple of people than I did getting certified. So,
Well, I felt for myself, NASM's a great
mm,
certification,
mm,
but I think the hands-on work and just learning from other trainers who've been in the field and just
mm,
like interacting with clients, that was where I like became more of a trainer than I ever did through the textbook.
mm,
So I feel like that experience really got me out of my shell.
mm,
And as I'll explain as we talk, I didn't naturally come off as very extroverted growing up. I was definitely very self-conscious
mm.
and in my own head one way than more than one. Sorry, I don't know what
Alright.
I'm trying to say there, but I was definitely in my head a lot.
Mm,
And that prevented me from truly understanding like who I was, what my goals were. And so I think that kind of taking this role as a personal trainer has really helped develop who I am today. So,
yeah, and that's why we had this talk before. I'm excited to get into it because I wanted this year to really get more into the whole my brand of like get lifted mentally, spiritually, physically, not just the addiction part.
yeah.
So you yourself are not an addict, right?
No, so the way I would like to describe it is I've never had an addiction, but I have had an issue with coping. And I
Mm,
think a lot of people can relate to that. I think life can get overwhelming and there's so many parts to it that, the self-discovery and just figuring out our purpose in this world, especially as young adults, is very overwhelming. And I feel like society doesn't always prep us for that mentally too. Um, so for me, coping was my issue.
mm,
Um, I think for me, especially as a young adult and in the college world, I unfortunately did use alcohol as a crutch. So, although there was no true addiction and I don't have an issue with it now, I definitely see that there was an issue with that growing up, kind of used to like escape reality. Um, and for me, it was the social belonging that I struggled with. So the alcohol use was more of my way of trying to fit in, loosen up, be more my age, because I think I always had trouble relating to people my age. So that
mm.
was essentially my way to do that.
No, I like that because for me, that's my sponsor always said that the biggest thing with addicts is not feeling comfortable in your skin.
Yeah,
And I think we
yeah,
talked about like it has nothing to do with addiction. You know what I mean? Everyone's
yeah,
coping with something.
yeah, yeah,
Gambling, alcohol, sex, video games today,
yeah,
weed. So I love how open you are that like a normal person, not like you didn't
yeah,
end up in
yeah,
rehab or jail,
yeah,
but everyone I talk to tens of thousands and it's always the same story.
yeah,
We're trying to like fit in, we're trying to feel comfortable. People have depression, anxiety.
yeah.
When you said you didn't really fit in or feel right with like your age group, can you like touch on that more?
Yeah, so I think for me growing up, and part of it is upbringing, and I think we can all relate to that. Just like our parents and everything like that, kind of what is instilled in us at a young age. And part of it, I actually think I kind of instilled in myself is this idea of being perfect. And I'm sure once again people can relate to that. Of I held such high standards for myself that I think for me, I always had to succeed like above and beyond. So with academics, with sports, because I grew up playing sports at an early age. So I basically always felt like if I didn't do well, I failed. Now I see that now that that's a flawed way of thinking about it because as we challenge ourselves to step out of our shell, I think in our comfort zone, I think that failure is actually more of a growing platform as opposed to constant success, you know?
Mhm.
So for me, I think I was always so uptight
Mhm.
and like almost didn't allow myself to like fully be a kid sometimes. I mean, freshman year of college, I was all academics, I was all track and field. I barely really went out. And part of that was the fact that I was so stuck in my own head that I didn't connect well with people. So I think part of it was my own, doing is just I never felt like I could truly let my guard down. And that's what prevented me from really connecting with my, fellow peers and stuff. So,
Alright. Well, that's for me, that's my big thing this year. My goals was fun because I've been
yeah, yeah,
chasing my dreams for 6 years. Perfectionist, I could relate to it all. And
yeah,
looking back, you're like, what's the point if you don't enjoy some of
yeah,
it, you
yeah,
know? And I think failure, I tell all my friends, or people are like, how do you do what you do? Put yourself in front of so many people. I'm like, literally, my life now and my income and everything is based on my biggest failure in life.
yeah.
That was my biggest stepping stone. So what did it look like when it came to how did you cope with alcohol or
Oh boy. Yeah. So, like I said, I think in the beginning of my freshman year of college, I kind of was so uptight and strict with like my academics and everything. I had to get the 4.0, which I did, and it was great. But I think I prevented myself from like kind of enjoying the college experience in some way of, just kind of having fun. Um, but when I got to my junior year of college, so a quick side note is I went to three schools
Mm,
for undergrad. Started at Southern Connecticut, 2 years there. Then I went to ASU, which
mm,
is a big party school. And that was my junior year. After that, I had a big kind of like low point at that point. So I moved back home and went to Westcon. But essentially, that junior year, when I went to that party school, that was me giving permission to myself to let loose. Um, and I wasn't prepared because I didn't really have any experience with it. So
mm,
I kind of went all in on it. And because I went into that year with mental health issues to start, adding the alcohol to the mix was dangerous, you know?
mm,
So I definitely had experiences of having, blackout nights,
mm,
unfortunately to say. And it's really scary because you wake up not remembering things. I one night looked up to a shattered phone, so that
mm,
was absolutely like a wake up call for me. Um, and then, one night I got a bill of, I unfortunately had a
mm.
bad accident in a Uber, so had to pay for that. And basically felt like I was distancing myself from my friends because I
Mm,
was, having issues with the alcohol. I felt like a burden. I felt like I was unfortunately becoming more of a liability than just someone to hang out with and have fun with.
mm.
And unfortunately, I did all of that because I didn't feel like I fit in. So,
We appreciate you sharing that.
yeah.
And I definitely can relate. I mean, I came to one time in the middle of Harlem with no shirt on, so
Yeah.
and bleeding from one arm. I'm not
Oh
sure.
gosh, you're like, where did I get this?
Still today, if I think about it, it gives me anxiety because I don't know what happened still today.
Yeah.
So I
I know.
got
I
I
mean,
get it.
like you said, it's
Uh,
the feeling of anxiousness and like, oh my gosh, what did I do?
yeah.
And I
Hopefully, I
feel
never
like
know.
that shame is like
Uh,
what makes us kind of retreat even more.
yeah, and that's where the spiral starts. At least for addiction is then it's like you're embarrassed, so you drink to deal with the shame and guilt and
Yeah.
remorse, and then it's just a bad cycle.
Yeah.
If you don't mind being honest, you don't have to.
No, that's okay.
Because I think this is cool. This may be our first episode. Like I've had like therapists or professionals, but someone that's talked about drinking like a story, but hasn't been for say, I guess, a full
Yeah.
blown addict.
Yeah.
Um, do you drink now, or did that relationship with alcohol better as you grew?
Yeah. So I do drink socially now,
Mhm.
but it's for a different purpose.
Mm,
When I used to drink in college, and even after college for a little bit of time, because of the friend group I got into, it was all about going out all the time and how drunk can we get and
mm,
let's laugh at it. It
yeah,
became kind of like, let's see how drunk we can get,
mm,
um, with no regard of our health and safety and all of that. Um, and I think now I see it more of I get to use this as just a, way to socialize with my friends, but in a controlled way.
mm,
So I think it's more of the control that, makes it different from how I was using it before. Before I was out of control. Like there was no
mm,
control whatsoever. I didn't know my limits. I didn't know why I was using it, in terms of like what my purpose was. But now it's more to just after a long week, just have a
mm,
glass and then just relax a little bit. So I still do drink, but I will never get back to that point of just like abuse with it.
mm. Yeah, I think that's important to touch on just
Yeah.
because we have listeners that may be not an addict alcoholic, but struggled or coped, and whether it's alcohol or substance,
Yeah.
that there is a possibility to work on yourself and find that healthy relationship,
Yeah.
not for the addicts, don't think that.
Yeah.
If I drink today, I'll probably burn down this building.
Yeah.
But yeah, for like, the people that just coped and found like a little rough time. And
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not telling like the people I grew up with, probably all of them had that chapter,
Yeah. Yeah.
three of us were addicts, but the rest were just normal. And I think they just kind of find themselves in party
Yeah.
schools. But that's interesting to touch on. Let's start to talk about little like let's start with where did it start? So, like, where did fitness start to play a part, or did you learn to cope?
Yeah, so fitness, like I said, growing up, I kind of started with sports. So I forgot how old I was. I was like a little baby doing like dance for like 2 years. Um, so that was more of kind of like my parents doing. But I
Mm,
actually today love to dance. So I
mm,
feel like to some degree it all worked out that way.
mm,
And then after that, I did club soccer. A little background on that is my dad was huge into soccer, actually helped coach part of my sister's team and my team. So he was able to have that relationship with us, which was really cool. Um, we actually got into all-star cheerleading, and that was, I believe I was in second grade and my sister was in third grade. So we actually did both cheer and soccer at one point. And then I got into high school cheer my freshman year of high school. Um, and then I did track. So it kind of I was able to explore different venues for being able to express myself in that way. But the key was that I always had a coach, I always had a team. So when I was able to stop the team sports, it actually was a little confusing for a little bit of time because I always had structure and routine. And so now I was in control of what that looked like for me. So definitely, I think a lot of athletes can relate to this is making that shift from sport to individual training can be scary, and does kind of come with this little bit of like identity crisis. Um, but in the end, I feel like I actually found my path through that. When I was actually a freshman in college doing track, we were forced to do, well, not forced, but that sounds bad.
mm,
We had to do as part of the training, the strength training. So
mm,
it actually turned into that being my favorite part and me actually dreading the running. And that's what kind of sparked that interest in the strength training. And then from there, I just kind of, as every young girl does, followed Instagram workouts,
mm,
kind of got into that. I was recording my own journey.
mm,
And I think that sparked that interest in, okay, like maybe there's potential here because I was getting positive feedback from, my followers and friends saying that I was inspiring them and that they could notice the difference I was making. So I think from there, that kind of like led me down the strength training, row. But I think it just took time to really develop what that meant for me personally. So,
mm. I love that. What I mean, first I want to say you said something very powerful because I dealt with the same thing. I was baseball, basketball, football, and in
Yeah.
between, just
Yeah.
trainers or other leagues I played in or AAU.
Yeah.
And I really, once I got hurt my senior year, that's when I really just like my life
Yeah.
fell.
Yep.
So what would you say maybe to someone that's listening that's either has a kid or they are like kind of an 18, 17, 19-year-old right at that like say they don't have a career, but high
Yeah.
school's
Yeah.
ending. What would you suggest?
In terms of like their fitness or just journey or
Yeah, and how to maybe like things they could do in fitness, like a trainer
yeah.
or et
Yeah.
cetera, or how to kind of learn how to have that. Because you said something important. That's where I think I lost it was that structure. I always
Yeah.
had school, practice, training, another practice.
Yep.
And once I lost that, I was like, all right, let's
Yeah.
smoke a blunt or let's have a drink or,
Yeah. I
you
think
know.
a huge part of that, especially growing up, is like that is a huge part of our identity. So, like
Mhm,
in our routine, that's what we dedicated a lot of our time to. So,
mhm,
when that wasn't part of the routine anymore, as you said, there's either healthy habits and figuring what we enjoy in hobbies, or unfortunately, we go down this, darker path that we just don't know what we're looking for. And then we go into the addiction or, abuse of that type of stuff. But I think I would recommend, for me, it's kind of just self-reflection, figuring out what do we truly want, what do we enjoy, what sparks that fire in us, because I think a lot of times we want to people please, so we do what we're told to do and what we think will make other people happy. But I think in the long run, for us to have a good, happy, successful life, we need to figure out, okay, what do I want,
mhm,
Um, and then for me, I think actually the training was a huge part of that. I actually had some of my own personal trainers. I had 3 personal trainers, so that was
Lit,
funny.
lit.
I actually have connected recently with my very first one.
Hmm,
So I think it's cool to see how those individuals can, influence you and actually inspire you to kind of take your own journey.
hmm,
Um, I mean, that wasn't my instant response. I wasn't always like, I need to do this.
hmm,
I actually, because of my insecurities and confidence and everything like that, I thought I wasn't going to be a good trainer. And I
hmm,
thought, oh, I can't do this. I don't have a big enough personality. So then I went back to school for my master's in marketing, did all of that, was an
hmm,
Edge Kids coach. And then at one point, I was just like, you know what? Life is short, so let's just go for it.
hmm.
But, just kind of see
Yeah.
what you can do.
Well, you're definitely wrong because
Thank
I saw all your
you.
clients loved you. You're always busy with clients,
Yeah.
and it was cool to see. I took things from you, like, I was just like interesting, like that important piece of how I would shadow her with her clients, and I'd be amazed on like the relationship you have with them, the
Thank you.
laughing,
Yeah.
how they like leaned into you as a friend and a confidant and a trainer, but it's so much deeper. So I like that. It was cool to see.
Yeah.
Um, so now you start to train, you realize you fall in love with that even more than the running.
Yeah.
And you said something about kind of finding yourself through that. If you
Yeah.
want to take us a
Yeah.
little more into maybe your personal story of having a trainer, training, and starting to cope in a healthy way
Yeah.
through training.
I think where I lost myself a lot with college and the identity was that loss of control, loss of discipline. I mean, I had the discipline when it came to academics and sports and all of that. Like I was set on that.
Mm,
But I think just the self control of like, what can I control with my outcome and my goals and everything like that? Um, and then what do I need to kind of let go of?
mm,
Um, so I think having that healthy balance of, okay, I can get myself to the gym, have structured routine there, but I need to let go of, what are people going to think about the results and how I look, and kind of let go of what are people going to think about me and gain control of what can I do to control my own destiny.
mm,
So I think, I would say with the exercise, I was able to kind of establish more of that self discipline, um, be able to see that I was actually stronger and more capable than I had imagined.
mm,
I think a lot of times growing up, I had a lot of self doubt. Um, And I think when I looked inward and was considering what I was looking for personally out of my life and what I wanted to be and the person I wanted to become, I was able to reflect on that and just figure out, okay, what are my priorities and how should I go about this in a way that's healthy and not detrimental?
Mm.
So,
And what part when did you start to see it? Like, you talked about, like, being comfortable in your own skin or being confident and stuff like that.
yeah.
Um, when did that change? Because now I would call bullshit. I see you dance, like, when we had to run those
Yeah.
classes, I was so boring, I was like, "These people" just my deep voice, and I'm, like,
Yeah.
more mellow, and I
Yeah.
was like, "Sam's out here, like, yelling, dancing, screaming, like, these
I
people are having a
know.
blast." So, when did
It,
that come?
yeah, it's really crazy. I think reflecting back at who I was most of my life,
Mm,
I actually just recently watched a video with my sister, and it was just
mm,
like a old video from when we both did cheer together.
mm.
I looked at that girl and I was like, "Who are you?" Because I was so shy, like painfully shy growing up.
Mm,
I just looked, you could see the fear and anxiousness in my
mm,
face and just like I didn't know who I was.
mm,
And this is a silly thing to point out, but actually, when I started working at Edge Kids
mm,
and I worked around, the children, and they just forced me to be myself because I had to be silly and goofy and just kind of let that in. I started to embrace who I really am because I've always been a goofball, but
mm,
only a small portion of people saw that in me.
mm,
Most people thought I was very, shy and uptight and all of that. But
mm,
if you truly knew me, you would know I've always been a goofball.
mm,
But I think the kids actually saved me to some degree, which
mm,
is a huge thing. And I don't think their parents fully knew that, but that was a big moment for me. And then after that, I just kind of started to accept myself more and I saw the joy it could bring to people. So, I saw how
mm,
fun it was for them. I tested it out a little bit by kind of introducing that more into my adult um, relationships. And I saw that it was actually accepted and that
mm,
people enjoyed it. So I was like, let's keep trying to go down this road and see if being me can actually have a payoff. And it did. So
mm,
I think it still comes with practice and I'm not perfect. I don't think anyone is, but I think embracing those imperfections and what makes us unique is so valuable. Um, and the biggest thing is trying to let go of that control of what do other people think of you. I think that's what holds back a lot of people. Just
mm,
fear of being judged. I mean, I still worry about that. I'm still a
mm.
people pleaser, but I've gotten better. And I think it's just the practice of being able to acknowledge it when we're spiraling down that road and then being able to pause and then reassess and try to, fix that a little bit.
Yeah, and the gym gives you a lot of that confidence, I
Yeah,
know
yeah,
even sobriety was very weird getting sober for me. I knew who I was,
yeah,
I always
yeah,
masked that, like you said, you did in college, it was like opiates, alcohol, whatever, but that made me have no fear. So when you rip that away from me, my medicine basically,
yeah,
I was like, oh, I do care what people think. I am nervous. And still today, I think a big thing to talk about is how you were resilient. Like, it wasn't comfortable. I mean, this is not comfortable for me at first.
yeah,
It's still like people start like, oh, your
yeah,
podcast. And it's like, I never planned to be here. You know what I mean? I'm
yeah,
still
yeah,
just that kid, just grown up. But I love how you talked about how the gym brought that confidence. Important just to get to know yourself. It's something about
yeah,
being alone with those weights that's like,
yeah,
you're really just with your thoughts and it clears your thoughts. So,
yeah.
yeah, it's important. So, let's talk about now you started training there and now you're transitioning, right?
Yep.
So, tell us a little about what you're doing now
Yeah.
and we'll get into that.
So it was end of November. I decided that as much as I am grateful for my time at the Edge, I felt like it was that time for me to take the next step. Because I think it's a great platform to be able to establish yourself, grow those connections, learn from other trainers, learn the business, just get to know people, make those connections. I think there's only so much you can do in that, space. So for me, I felt like the next best step was to create my own brand, Sammie B Fitness. So that's what it's scary and there's no, you know, you don't know if it's going to be successful. So I
Mm.
think that's the hardest part is when you go off on your own. It's a lot of work to set up your own business. But I think it's so rewarding. So I decided to do that because I also wanted more control over the space. So when I was working at the edge, although I can give people comfort with how I, would approach the training sessions and everything like that, I still felt like I had a little bit of that lack of control of how I would work the business. And there were certain things I didn't agree on with how things were run. So for me personally, I was like, okay, let me, switch this over and start my own thing and kind of take my own vision and run with it. So my little tagline is "Where becoming your best feels fun." So
Mm.
I feel like that kind of embodies what my vision is for people and who I train with. I think a lot of times, the intimidation of starting the gym is very real. I mean, I experienced it myself, as we were talking about earlier. When you make that shift and you don't know how to navigate the gym, you don't know how the machine works, you don't know if you're making a fool of yourself or if you have proper form, how to structure a workout program. There's a lot of these doubts that go on in people's heads. And we always have this feeling of, because of the judgment, or like people are watching, people are judging, I don't belong here. So my goal is to be able to have people start that journey or even continue their journeys, or just amplify their journeys in a way where they feel safe, where they feel like they can show up, actually look forward to the session, because that's a huge thing. Is I think there have been times when we have responsibilities and we're dreading it and we don't want to show up and we're just anxious. But I want to create that feeling of, okay, like I'm ready. Like I feel empowered. I feel happy to be here and I feel stronger. So,
Mm. I like what you said because people
thank
need
you.
to know from someone that we're
Yeah.
both fit, we're both actually trainers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like everyone feels uncomfortable going to the gym.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really think that's gonna be a great clip for people to see because I mean, whether you're 400 pounds
Yeah.
or when I first started, I was the opposite. I was like crackhead. I didn't have an
Yeah.
ounce of muscle on me. I'm 6'1". I think I weighed 140 pounds.
Okay.
Like I was
Wow.
deadly. And then you think the opposite. Like, oh, everyone's thinking this scrawny guy. Why is he even
Yeah.
lifting? Like everyone has their own negative
Mm-hmm.
thoughts. So I love the honesty and clarity you have
Yeah.
about that because how many people stop and they think like, oh, it's only because of me because I'm overweight or I'm old or I'm young or
Yeah.
and most of the time, one of my mentors told me, he goes, no one gives a fuck about you, man. No one's looking at you, but it
Yeah.
feels like the gym's looking at you.
Exactly. Yep.
And I like that you want to make that comfortable.
I
What?
think we're our worst critic too.
Uh, yeah.
So I think it's definitely nice to feel like no matter where you are in your journey, like you can always start somewhere. So no matter how old you are, how, if you obviously have injuries and stuff, you need to get medical clearance and all of that, but you can still start somewhere. And movement is going to be, key for anyone to have a happy, long life. So
Well, obviously they'll feel comfortable with you because
yeah,
that's
yeah,
you're honest about that and being clear. Like I'm clear with my addiction. You being clear with people and open that like these are things I struggle with too. They're gonna feel you make them comfortable. You know what I
thank you.
mean?
Yeah.
So I have no doubt about that. So I forgot what you just said, but I was gonna touch on it.
Yeah, that's okay. I
Oh,
kind of
but
interrupted you.
what does no, it's good, but you said something perfect. What does a client look like for you? All clients, ages.
Yeah, so I think I'm still trying to get a little bit more clarity on this in terms of what I'm looking for. As time has gone on, I definitely feel a little bit more of that connection with like women specifically. Not honestly even by choice, just how it has happened to play out. I feel like with women, there's just that sort of like connection and feeling of like, okay, this truly is like a safe space. I think for me, like I've also worked with males who I adored and who we got so much out of it. And they also have felt, that same feeling of like community and everything. But I think it's the women who we can just connect on a different level sometimes. And I personally have no criteria in terms of you don't have to be a certain level of fit or you don't have to be an age or not even a gender. I just said woman because that's honestly what right now I have most of.
Mm.
But just anyone who's willing to try. I think that's the big thing is the level of effort And I'm not expecting anyone to be all in and perfect from the start because I knew that I wasn't. I mean, I'm still not today. No one's perfect.
Mhm.
We still have those mornings we wake up and we're like, do I have to go to the gym?
Most mornings,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Especially wintertime.
yeah.
But it's just the effort, the communication, and just willingness to try. I think
Mhm,
that's the biggest thing is if, you know, if you're willing to at least give it a shot and see how, the
mhm,
body responds, what the results are, I think that's the biggest thing is just wanting to try and then clearly communicate if they're not comfortable with something or if they wanted to try some new
mhm,
skill that we haven't touched base on, clearly communicate their goals. That way we're on the same page because it really is, like you said, a deeper relationship than just trainer and client. I
mhm.
think that, being able to trust each other is a huge part of that. So,
Nice. Yeah. And I remembered what else I was
yeah.
gonna say. The part you said, I'm gonna say it first, almost as an introduction and sales part for you.
Yeah.
And even if it's not you, no matter where people are, but for me, because obviously we have a lot of addicts or
Yeah.
recovering addicts or alcoholics. You said the word movement.
Yeah.
That has gotten me through. I mean, getting sober,
Yeah.
COVID, my brother taking his own life, friends dying, grief. Like
Yeah.
there is something about movement. I just want to talk about that and then
Yeah.
have you touch on it that like changes your life. I mean, obviously the chemical, the dopamine,
Yeah. Yeah.
endorphins, your mental health. But I swear, like, the 12 steps, God, I've had all these pillars of foundation in my
Yeah.
life and
Yeah.
growth. But there's something about the gym, like it's always there. There's something about you versus you.
Yeah.
So I would love for you to touch on either your experience
Yeah.
or an addict or not an addict, anyone, how it can help them,
Yeah.
you know?
I think movement both physically and just like in terms of momentum and like
Mm,
moving forward with your goals in life and not allowing yourself to stay stagnant.
mm,
I think when I was in my darkest point, what kept me going was the support system. So having that from family and friends, they kept me going. They kept me moving. And then physically, just keeping your body moving. Sometimes when we are just sitting around, that's when we're really most in our heads.
mm,
It's just us in our thoughts and
mm,
our bodies aren't moving. I think that's where we feel the most in terms of helplessness. We're going to feel, tired and weak and just staying, active and making sure that and not to say like you can have rest days are important. And not to say like sometimes we just need a minute to really feel our feelings and all of that. But I think just take one step at a time, small steps. And I think just in general with like fitness journeys, you just have to start somewhere and move forward. And I think that really is key because once we kind of give up on ourselves, that's when things just take a turn.
And I've seen a lot of people, so I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah.
Even recently, people I work with, it's like a little bit of movement
Yeah.
and their motivation's up, their drive, their
Yeah.
self
Yeah.
image, everything we've talked about. What types of services do you offer?
Yeah. So I currently offer flexible packages. So that's going to be more for the client who is traveling a lot. They have busy jobs where their schedule is a little bit more up in the air. Or they just want to kind of try things out without the 3-month commitment that the recurring service requires. So that's really great to just kind of get that momentum going, figure out what our relationship is and whether, it's a good fit for both of us. And then I also have the reoccurring service. It could be both hybrid or just one-on-one in person. So with the reoccurring service, like I said, it is that 3-month commitment, but I have that there for good reason. So aside from obviously just like the business side of things, I have that there to make sure that people understand that it takes time.
Mm,
So I think, nowadays we've kind of fallen into that idea of I want quick results. I
mm,
want it now. And I want it in my timeline.
mm,
So we have to realize that in order to see real change, it's going to take real effort and real time.
mm,
So that's why I have the 3 months there because we need to make sure that we can commit to that, responsibility for at least that time period. And most times after those 3 months, people are like, okay, I want more,
Yeah.
So it's more so just to help establish that habit. And then I have just the one-on-one in person so that if people are not at a point where they see themselves going to the gym, 5 days a week and they just want like 2 to 3 sessions and just want to do the one-on-one in-person training, they would just get that scheduled time. So they wouldn't necessarily need access to the app because they wouldn't be following the program on their own. So that's the nice thing is there is, a little bit of that savings there. But the big difference is with the hybrid approach, you're going to have a little bit more of that hands-on experience. You're going to have a little bit more of the accountability because you're going to have the True Coach app, which is also going to help with the habits, just checking off your routines, things like that. You're going to have a little bit more of like that nutrition guidance as well. And then last but not least, I just recently added this. My clients, Kristen and Cheryl, they are my dynamic duo, and they are big into partner training. So I just added that. It allows people who need kind of that extra layer of accountability and just support to be able to go in together and then do the training as a pair. So that's what I got.
I like it. A lot of options. I mean, that's a
Yeah.
cool thing with the apps today that you could be in person, also have it there. I mean, the
Yeah.
partner. I was doing the partner training for the last year with a friend, and it was wild. It's so much. That's why I knew this would be a good episode because it's so much more than fitness.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
I think a lot of people. I started my stuff with like shirtless flexing pics, and
Yeah.
I'm sure at first people were like, "Oh, this dude and his ego." Like, it really has nothing today. I mean, yeah, I guess it's good to be fit,
Yeah.
but like, it has nothing to do with how I look. Like,
Yeah.
it's everything else. It's how I
Yep. Yep.
feel. Like this year, me and my friend just had a New Year's dinner. Who I train with a couple friends, and we were just talking about like, man, everything we've been through, and like what
Yeah.
it was like having our trainer to talk about things, having each other, working on each other, work on ourselves with each other.
Yep. Yep.
It's such a deeper thing, and I love
Yep.
that you offer that. That's gonna be cool.
Yeah. Oh, and online training.
And online training.
Sorry, don't forget that.
Yeah, that's good. You got it all. Hey, someone's gonna find what they want there.
Yep.
That's good.
But as you said, I mean, I think fitness is more about how we look. I think that's what gets us started. And it's an obvious like benefit that is nice. It helps build the confidence. But I think with time, you realize that it's so much deeper than that. How we move throughout the day. I mean, honestly, for people, especially as we age, it's about making sure that we're able to do everyday tasks without getting injured easily. I mean, I have clients who in the past, would just twist around in the back of their car just to pick something up, and then they had a bad back for a few weeks. So I think, there's certain things that we do throughout the day that we don't realize that those movement patterns that we train in the gym actually translates to everyday life. So, and then on top of that, just like that mental toughness, I think when you can connect the mental state with the physical state, that's the greatest power of working out. So,
I mean, that's a big thing for me. Is just I watch both sets of grandparents just basically get old.
Yeah.
One set is still alive.
Yeah.
And my grandfather worked a lot physically, but the other side, my dad always says like his parents just kind of fell apart when they, you know what I mean? We're all supposed to get old and fall apart, but like, I was like, damn, I want to start now, especially the damage I've done probably to take care of myself. So when I get to that age, you be 80 and walk on the beach or do whatever.
I know I have a grandma who has never stopped moving in her life, and it shows because she is just like a rock star. I mean, she still keeps up with, making sure she's, put together, which obviously you don't need to do that. But I always was inspired by her because she's always had a pep in her step. And, she's definitely getting to an older age, and we worry about, when that time comes. But for her, I feel like there's always that, reassurance that she's just taking care of herself. So I know that, she's going to have a long, healthy life.
My parents always say move or rust.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what's gonna happen, We're mechanical as much as we don't see it.
Yep.
So where can people find you if they're looking for this?
So I have my Instagram. So Sammie B Fit. it's Sammie.b.fit. That's my main platform right now. I'm in the process of making a website. So I'll be getting that up and running this year. So I'll be able to share that information further down the line. I do have a link tree, so that's linked on my Instagram. That's going to have some PDF information about the services I offer, just what Sammie B Fitness is all about. There's a client intake form there as well. So if someone is interested in doing training, they can always apply there. And then that's kind of like the screening process just to make sure that we're a good fit. And then we would do our phone consultation and basically just get started from there. But I'm also trying to establish a Facebook page as well. But right now, Instagram and Linktree are the big ones. So
Awesome. So I will also put in the bio, it'll be all of Sam's stuff so they could contact you, DM you, or hit your link tree and request more information or see if they could train with you. We always wrap it up with a couple questions.
yeah.
But before I do, is there anything you wanted to add? Anything I missed?
Not really. I think, it's interesting to do this podcast because prior to coming here, I kind of was sitting with myself and reflecting on my journey. And I was like, all right, I need to come up with some talking points.
Yeah.
Don't make a fool of yourself. But honestly, it makes you realize with like how far you can come in life, how much you can grow as a person, both in your personal life and professionally. I think it's really cool to see the growth that I've made. I think especially now, like, I didn't mention this part, but I had an underbite also all my life. So I actually required orthodontic surgery. So I had upper jaw surgery. And I think for the longest time, I hid behind that, awkward smile and kind of feeling like I never was really seen. And then after the surgery, I mean, nowadays people think of me as smiles, and that's kind of my trademark, is just like always having a smile on my face. So I think it's interesting how we can come so far, and it all comes down to just the support. I think having people that love you and care for you and knowing when to reach out for help, that's the biggest thing to just kind of keep yourself moving forward. So I mean, you're not broken. You just have to put the piece well, no, I said you're not broken, but you have to basically
You're broken.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You have to just figure out, how did I get here and where do I want to be? So
Yeah, like being injured. You just gotta heal up.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. Well, no, that's why I knew this would be a great conversation, because I think it's important for anyone listening, no matter addict, not addict, that it's so vital that it's so much more when it comes to training. Obviously, I respect what you're doing. I wanted to spotlight that, and give people the access to you for that opportunity. And yeah, I mean, it's so much. It's so cool to see when you sit back. Like, I'm moving out of my place now, and I had to sit and like talk to myself, you know what I mean, and realize like that was a huge accomplishment there, and it was just like don't rush past to it and be okay with the failures and the speed bumps and the bruises, and all of a sudden you look back and you're like, damn, how we make it this far? Yeah, it's a great story.
It's pretty cool, right?
Yeah. Life is cool. You just gotta keep the hope in the hard times,
And I think just like the huge thing too is just realizing everyone has a story. So never make quick judgments, take the time to have conversations. And I think, what's can help you be successful these days is just trying to understand people, empathize, and just try to be a good person is a huge thing. So
yeah, that's the half of it.
Yeah.
All right, so for our 3 questions, number 1, what is your favorite go-to quote, saying on a rough day?
Oh boy. Oh boy, sorry.
No, it's all right. Even if it's like something quick, like if you're having a rough day, like something positive or.
Yeah.
It's the hardest one.
I know. Oh gosh, everyone I'm so bad at this. I'm trying to think of the quote I used for for my Edge profile.
Oh yeah.
Oh gosh.
Or even a mentality, like if you don't want to go to the gym one day.
Yeah, I think mentality-wise is kind of think about the long-term goal. Don't allow yourself to get stuck in kind of that current mindset. Realize that there are bigger, better things down the road, and just try to be as kind to yourself as possible. I think that, you know, giving yourself grace is a huge thing about being able to grow without constantly punishing yourself. And for me, that's what has allowed me to become who I am, is just giving myself more grace and not necessarily shaming myself for my mistakes. Take responsibility. You got to take responsibility because that's a huge step. Acknowledge what your flaws are, but I think realize that it doesn't define you as a person. You get to define yourself. So,
Like it. And what would you say to that Sam that was, coping with drinking,
yeah.
for the people that maybe are in that chapter today? What would you say to them
Um,
now?
I would say I would just say you're going to be okay. So, I think the biggest thing I recommend to those people is just rely on your support system. And if you don't have one, I think trying to find resources, making sure that you realize that you truly never are alone. I think finding a community of people who can relate to what you're going through is a huge thing. The fact that you created this podcast and you've created that community for people is huge. That's what really gets us out of that dark hole, is just realizing that we're not meant to necessarily take these things on alone. I mean, as human beings, we're social. We're meant to rely on each other, and you're not a burden for doing that. So,
That's important. I mean, now I'm the opposite. I would never ask for help, and now
really, yeah.
I mean, I have a trainer, mentor, business
Yeah, yeah,
coach,
yeah.
sponsor,
Yeah.
therapist. I mean, the
We
more
need a little
support is
kick in the butt
better.
sometimes.
Yeah, don't leave me alone. It'll get bad. It'll
Yeah,
get bad really
yeah,
quick.
yeah.
Lastly, what would you say? No, I want to ask this one.
Yeah.
This is just funny. Would you ever have you ever regretted going to the gym?
No, I've never
Uh,
regretted going to the gym. I think,
yeah.
like, well, there are times where I think it's a little questionable on whether,
You should have won.
and don't report me,
Yeah,
if I was a little sick and I probably shouldn't have been there. And then I'm
yeah,
like, oh man, I probably didn't make
yeah.
things too great doing that. But honestly, I feel like going to the gym, um, it really does allow you to just slow down,
Mm,
which sounds silly because I think when you think of the gym, you're like, oh, I'm pushing hard, blah, blah, blah.
mm,
But it really just allows you to connect with yourself, um, listen to your body. I mean, it forces you to, listen to how your body's feeling,
mm,
and then just kind of let go of everything that's been bothering you. So,
yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming on.
yeah, thank you
Thank you
so
so
much for
much.
having me.
That's great. Can't wait to see what you do. We'll have you
Thank
on again
you.
in the future. You'll have to update us.
Yeah, see what
Um,
happens with Sammie B Fitness.
maybe have your own podcast
Yeah, that's
with
we'll see.
all your clients. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. Wish you
Thank
the
you.
best of luck.
I appreciate it.
Thank you guys for listening. Check out Sam, her Instagram, her new business, her fitness. If you want a trainer, someone that I could personally say that will motivate you and get you to your goals, but more importantly, help you on the inside as you do that, reach out to her. And thank you for listening. Like, follow, share. If you need help, do not hesitate to reach out for help, whether it's rehab, treatment, recovery, coaching, therapist, whatever it be, we got you. Sam, thank you very much.
Thanks, John. I appreciate it.